Okay, let's see if this works a little better. See if they join up this time. Hopefully, hopefully they do. We'll find out how spotty it is, how choppy it is. See if I can't fix it. Thank you for understanding. Hopefully it's not too loud, not too bad. All right. So if you're joining us on this one, which there's Dylan.
Testing.
Testing. Got it. I got you.
Sounds way better.
Does it?
Yeah.
Sweet. So it's Wi-Fi. Well, hopefully he'll be able to join us. I know she was really busy today. I was surprised she was even able to join us, honestly. So that's cool. But so if you want to just continue where you, there's Haley.
Back.
Oh, there we go. Sweet. And it sounds better?
Yeah, you sound good now.
All right, cool. So it's my Wi-Fi. Yay. That's actually a good thing. That means that might be my solve all for all the problems.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Okay, so Dylan, you were saying,
are you going to keep the last episodes
I'll probably keep the last one, but probably not the one before that. I might not even. I don't know. Do you want to restart?
I could just redo my career real quick. I'll be a little concise. I played at Napa High, graduated in 2005. Then I played at Napa Valley College, and then I tried to play at Monterey Bay, but I ran into shoulder issues, labrum, fraying of the labrum. And then I tried to play in what was the Pecos League prior to the Pecos League, Vallejo Admirals. I was 33 years old, and I just didn't work out. It was too tough driving back and forth with traffic, and just my shoulder wasn't feeling very good, and I was throwing in the low 70s, if that. But then also my dad played professional baseball, won a World Series with the Phillies, and he played with Phillies, Cubs, and White Sox. So I just got a baseball family.
Yeah, and then your umpiring career, which is
it's a new lease on my career as a player coach. This is my 7th year, and I just got picked up in junior college baseball. Done 5 years in high school, and I started 2 years in Little League. So I'm working my way up.
Yeah, no, and I believe in you because I've had you umpire my games and I've umpired with you in games, and I think you're the right guy for the job. Most of us don't want it. Some of us don't want it, I should say. And there's a lot of people that are fearful of it actually right now because of the crap that goes on with umpires and after the game and everything else. So, and during the game, really.
Well, like last night, after we were done at Little League, we did a 50-70 senior league game. We had 3 or 4 parents come up and shake our hands and thank us for our patience, explaining to the kids, like our blocks were a tough issue last night, or the ball wasn't put back into play and they were trying to pick over.
Yeah, not understanding the little technical things that coaches don't often teach very well.
Or get to teach. It's hard to have that situation come up into practice, or the coach knows how to teach it.
Yeah. Haley, do you run across that kind of stuff in softball? I guess just
as in like little rules like that.
Yeah, just like the little things that are kind of forgotten about, or
I feel like, I guess I, as like a private coach, technically don't really, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff. Same thing, like little rules like that probably should be talked more about, like in practice and stuff. And then, someone gets called for it in the game, and then, it becomes more of an issue or whatever. But yeah, I definitely think same kind of stuff happens for sure.
I actually have a topic that maybe I should wait till next time because we're going to kind of focus on umpiring, I think, today, but not really. Is what's your opinion on in the lower leagues, like let's say 8U, 10U, maybe mostly 8U, 10U, on them getting walked and trying to run to second base when the catcher can't even throw the ball to second base?
I guess I've never really thought about that, but so like the catcher literally can't make it to second base because she's.
Well, at that age, it's pretty difficult. You know what I mean?
Right. If they can make it, they can make it. I don't really mind that, honestly.
So that's good. That's good. That's an opposing. Okay, I like that. That's an opposing opinion. See, it irritated the hell out of me because it was like, hey, look, it's one thing if the catcher misses it and the ball goes by her and you're running to home or running to first on your walk and then you go to second. It's another thing if she's got it in her hand and you're just going to run there because you know she can't get it there. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I guess that's just part of the game at that point when they're that young.
I guess. I don't know. I guess in my point of view was that the next level, when they can throw the ball the second, you're not going to do it anymore. And then what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah. I know. I agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I've never coached that young of kids, and I've never really come across that.
That was one of the issues I ran into when I was coaching. It got me into a lot of trouble because I was so mad about it. I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I was like, you're not going to do at the next level. You're going to get thrown out the second you try that. You know what I mean? But whatever. Anyway, so that was just, I just wanted to know your opinion on that. But I like that you said at that level. That was funny.
Well, I mean, I guess the catcher's going to learn to throw to second base.
One way or another. Touche. Well, actually.
Well, this is, I guess, another thing. If the catcher can't throw to second base, then, I mean, are you saying you don't want anyone to steal? I mean, you know
No. No, yeah, totally. No, it wasn't even that it wasn't okay. It was okay with me, but the part that wasn't okay with me was that, like, it was like trying to teach them a way that wasn't going to be usable in the future.
Yeah, I see. You know what I mean? Right. I agree with that.
Well, I see that
obviously, you're not just going to be running to second base all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Because you do that in college, and they're going to laugh at you and throw you out and then taunt you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, in college, it's the runners. If the catcher's lobbing the ball, putting air underneath the ball and getting it back to the pitcher, that's when they're going to take advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
So in those lower levels, I see that as a coaching opportunity to how important the catcher needs to get the ball, throw it back to the pitcher, and then the pitcher needs to pay attention to that runner rounding first on a walk. And
that would be. Yes, but at this point, you're teaching. At this point, it was 10-year-old girls that didn't quite really, or it was 9 and 10-year-old girls that didn't quite understand why they were doing that. When, like, it was almost like a defeating purpose. You know what I mean? And so, but what I ended up doing was I implemented a play to cut it off, and it worked really well. So it worked out, but I basically had him pretend to drop the ball, throw it to the pitcher, and our pitcher was our best player, and she just turned around and chucked it to second, who was our other best player, and got him out. You know what I mean? But it was, and I should say most athletic player, but it was hard for the girls that are just learning, because some of them, it was their first year, so they're like, "What's going on?" You know what I mean? It's not as the 12th grade at the 12U side, you get a little bit more intensity. You know what I mean? You get some of that moldability. I didn't really have it in 10U. You know?
Yeah, it's young. It can be young.
Well, yeah, you turned it into a coaching opportunity to make a play, and it's tough for those first year kids. But yeah, 12U, now they're a little bit more experienced, and they can pay attention to that play a little bit more.
Right, and you don't see it nearly.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Another play that happens all the time is in Little League, they'll steal, like a pass ball, from third, they'll steal home a lot, or like on getting the ball back. So the coach will be like, "Hey, get the ball and go stand on the rubber, and catcher get down." That way they can't get a lead off, they can't steal. So that's that coaching remedy, is to get the ball back to the pitcher as fast as they can.
Does the catcher being down have anything to do with it?
Yeah, in Little League, catcher in position in the box, catcher's box in a squat, and the pitcher on the mound with the ball is how you kind of
judge the next one.
It's how you pause action, because the runners can't get a lead, they can't advance. It's been a while since I've seen that, because
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that the pitcher being on the rubber, but I did not know that the catcher being in squat was part of it.
Yeah, getting the battery ready. Also, when I would, as an umpire, and when I saw that it was getting taken advantage too much of the runners, I would find a reason to call timeout and kind of cut it off. every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because you'll get parents that start chirping. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, coaches can kind of, they got to deal with themselves on the field. But when you got parents yelling across the stands, through the fence from one stand to the other, across the baselines, that's when.
Well, that's the coach's priority, right? The head coach.
Yeah, and the coaches should be listening to what their fans are saying. Hey, calm down, guys. We'll take care of it. But, when parents start yelling at other parents across the home plate at Little League fields, that's when
what's the protocol there?
Well, I'd call timeout to stop that play. As an umpire, I try not to get into the stands too much, or it's taught that we shouldn't argue with parents, because I can get away with that a little bit because I can talk baseball and try to, agree with. I don't try to argue. Hey, you're right. They shouldn't be doing that, and I got you. I'll take care of it, and just reassure them that I'm paying attention and try to simmer down, try to diffuse the situation.
Okay. And then just let's say for happenstance that doesn't work and it backfires. What do you do then?
Well, so that's the worst case scenario is send the teams to the dugouts, and or the first step would be to get there's a board member that should be on site, and you call them over and you have them talk and try to.
You mean the commissioner?
Situation.
The commissioner?
It's a board member that's supposed to be on site, that's supposed to be walking around, making sure everything's copacetic between the three fields at Napa Little League.
So, yeah, that's one of the things that we will be looking for, but yep.
And then worst case scenario is I would stop play, send the teams to the dugouts, and let a couple minutes go by to simmer down and talk to the coaches, maybe together at home plate, talk about the fans, and then resume play, hopefully once enough time's gone by where the parents stop yelling.
I mean, you can always, and if the coach can't get their parents to calm down, then the coach gets ejected, or does the parents get ejected?
I believe in the Little League, I can eject a coach. I'd have the board member eject the coach. They've just changed that rule in high school this year where we can't eject fans. There should be a site manager there, like the AD, athletic director should be on site to be able to handle fans. And we can't, the big rule change was we can't make a team forfeit because of their fans.
Got it. Okay.
This is kind of the scary thing about umpiring. It's just like hockey has fighting. Baseball has, you get to yell at the umpire.
Yeah, well, but it's got to stop there. What's happening outside of and after games is what's the problem.
Yeah, big time. And there's actually a push legislatively to, if somebody attacks an umpire or referee and physically assaults them, that it should be a felony.
And that's good. I honestly, I agree with that. And now, I mean, I have seen atrocious umpiring. I have for sure. There used to be this dude in Napa that would go twos across the board, whenever he had 2 strikes, 2 balls, and 2 outs. And that guy, I just remember being so bad. And he actually ended up fighting someone in the parking lot during the game. And I remember the guy that called him out. He was a total loudmouth, but he called him out, and the guy walked out there, and they started fighting. It was like, what the heck? And so, I've seen that. I've also had situations where people, were getting mad at me, and you just have to nip it in the bud right away. Like, you have to say, there will be none of that. We're not going to handle that. That's not going to happen today. No more. You know what I mean? Right away, or else it's just going to continue to build. That's why I think you see in a lot of games, you see that initial early flag or that initial early call that is like kind of like, really? But it's like, yeah, they're trying to put a cap on it now before it's too late,
Right. And that's like bench jockeying in high school or college. The team at bat, and the pitcher's struggling. Oh, leave it for the birds, a high fastball that's nowhere near, or a fastball in the dirt. Oh, worm killer. Or he picks over. Oh, you can read them like a book. So, no, keep it on your own teammates, guys. Don't, and try to nip that in the butt sooner rather than later.
Keep your eyes in your own dugout.
Yeah.
The one I like is I tell them all the time is I say, "You go ahead, man."
Yeah. No, go ahead. You're good. What do you hear all the time?
Oh no, I was going to say what I always say to them is before the game is I tell the coaches, I say, hey, look, if your kids want to, chant and scream and yell and all that, that's all cool as long as they keep it in their own dugout. But also, I don't care how loud they get, but once that pitcher starts pitching, you better stop. You know what I mean? And those are my two rules because it's like you want to get something enthusiasm out of it. That's one thing I love about softball actually is that the softball girls are so into it with their cheering and their chants and their stuff. And I get that it's a little different. Like guys aren't, there's always that cliche saying of like, we're not cheerleaders, you know what I mean? But like the girls, they get into it and they get into it and it's awesome to see. And then, and the guys can do it too, but they usually get a little more offensive. You know what I mean? And so
personally, the girls can get offensive.
Oh no, the girls can get offensive, I'm sure. Yeah. but it's cool because, anyway, so that's a part of it that I like. So I always tell them, I'm like, yeah, go for it, man. Just once the pitcher starts, I do not interfere with him. You know what I mean? Or her.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever gets the team on the same page, rooting for the same thing off the bench. I'm all for that. Like get everybody involved, even if they're not in the game, they're cheering them on. They're being positive. That's a great thing about sports. That camaraderie, it's hard to teach and it's hard to build. But like even last night, there was a kid who had just got walked. He's on first base. And when the pitcher's ready to pitch, he's clapping his hands. So he's got his lead off and he's clapping his hands. And after the second time he did that, when he started doing it a third time, it's, hey, 13, sportsmanship, cut it out. Like I looked, I was in the C position right behind the pitcher. And I looked over at him. I shook my head. I quit it. And he stopped it. So I tried to nip it as soon as I could. So nobody else got inspired to, bang on the fence.
Yep.
Try to distract because by rule, you can't try to make the pitcher balk. You can't be, and that's sportsmanship. And like if the dugout say balk, like a chicken, you got to cut that out because that's
is that obstruction or interference?
The type of interference. Like if the classic Major League Baseball with Willie Mays Hayes hits a high pop up on the infield and he's so fast he runs around first and the ball's at like shortstop and he hits second and I got it and the guy drops it because somebody else called him off, but it was the offensive runner. That's it.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah,
I didn't know that story at least.
And it's kind of like the same where a ground ball, a runner will kind of visually impair the fielder that's fielding the ball. They'll stutter step in between the ball and the fielder.
Oh, right.
There's ways that the offense can't impede the defense in making a play, verbally or physically or visually. Oh, my favorite rule is you cannot make a travesty out of the game. So
what?
Yeah, it's travesty is in the rule book. You can't make a travesty.
That would be a travesty.
Yeah. I think that's very funny. Say a ground ball to shortstop. There's a runner at second. He's going to third, and he starts doing jumping jacks. He's trying to distract. He's doing something out of the ordinary. He's doing jumping jacks to distract the shortstop making the play to first. That would be an interference.
Like go booga.
Yeah. Or just something like running the bases backwards. That would make a travesty out of the game. And so you call that runner out. Yeah. Interesting.
See, that's how I feel about playing any pickup game that isn't taken seriously. It's a travesty of the game. I can't stand that stuff, man. Oh man. But
have you ever seen that, Haley, in softball? Has anybody done something just out of the ordinary that like
I can't say that I've seen anything like that out of the ordinary.
Well, what about the bananas?
Well, yeah, there you go.
That's a travesty.
In softball, I've seen, people either saying like something they shouldn't be saying, or like you were saying, like banging on the fence or stuff like that, but like the umpire makes you stop. One of the
Especially
things,
like the banging on it.
when I was in college, we had, I can't remember what the reason was, but we all had drumsticks, and we had them in the dugout for a while, and like that was a thing for a while until one of the umpires told us we couldn't use them anymore.
That's actually a pretty good one. So you're just like kind of thing.
But yeah, because we used them like before the game, like as like a cheer thing that we did before the game, and then they were being used like in the dugout, like while we were hitting too. And yeah, so I mean, kind of similar to like banging on the fence or whatever.
We had one of those. We had one of those the superstitions where you shoot the arrow or whatnot. I can't remember what it's for. It's one of the counts, but you basically, it's like you pull back and you shoot the arrow at a certain time, or I can't remember what it was in high school though. But one of the umpires was like, hey, that's weapon related, so you can't use that. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? Don't you pointing that at the other team? It was like, what? I'm like,
it was like totally not the intention, right?
Gosh. But
we had those.
Yeah, I don't know if I haven't really seen anything super, super crazy.
Me either.
It was like
I've never seen anyone do jumping jacks.
What about banging on the fence when the pitcher?
No, yeah, I hate it.
Do the umpires cut that out?
Yeah, the banging on the fence is definitely like, yeah, they cut that out.
Or metal cleats on the bench.
Yeah, any sort of like I think it's like you can't have any artificial like noise makers. So like the drumsticks, the banging on the fence, I think all of that like you're not really supposed to do.
The like kazoo rattler spinny thing.
Yeah, right. Anything that you would like bring in. Yeah.
What if you're like Eddie Murphy and you've got one of those voices where you can just do all those, or that dude from what show was that back in the day where he could do all those noises? Oh my God.
I don't know what they do about that.
Police Academy, I think it was. Police Academy.
Yeah, Police Academy.
Yeah, well, that's natural. Man, let's see.
What about props? Besides those drumsticks, Haley, did the girls bring anything out, like a hat after a home run?
Yeah, I definitely think props are a thing, especially in college. I don't know if like as much out on the field as like they would stay in the dugout.
Good. Yeah, because that's a rule change the last couple of years in college, especially. I haven't seen it in high school yet, but in college, the props have to stay in the dugout.
Okay, yeah. I feel like
brings the prop out is automatically ejected now.
I'm not sure if it's a specific rule, but I feel like for the most part, it does have to stay in the dugout. So I'm assuming it's something similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that rule is for both.
Yeah.
In college.
Got a question for you. Is last night I noticed that at one inning, one of the coaches comes out to the pitcher during the warm-ups, during the in-between warm-ups. And I went up to him and I said, hey man, just a forewarning. I said, that's technically a visit. You crossed the line. What's your take on that?
So I heard you talking about this earlier in one of the second last podcast. So is it in between innings? Like he's the third base coach. He's walking across the field.
No, there was two coaches technically yesterday that did it. There was one of them was the third baseman coming across, or third base coach. The other one was not. He was came out of the dugout or first base side and crossed to talk to him. And that's the one I went up to, the dude with the beard. And when I'm talking about in the other podcast, I'm talking specifically out of the dugout, deliberately to tell the pitcher something before the inning starts. In between, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a deliberate attempt to communicate.
Yeah. So in high school and in college, that third base coach, as long as he doesn't delay the game, it's all right. He just has to keep it walking. He can't like really just stand out there while he's warming up. Coach out of the dugout. What more does he have to say? He just spent the whole half inning in the dugout with the pitcher. Now he's got more to talk to him.
Yeah, that's my point. It's usually
the case. Yeah.
It's usually something like the batter that's coming up is not the batter they intended. He wants to tell him something or her something or something of that nature. There's always a reason, right? There's a reason you go out there. Now, it's not, if it's to check on the kid's health, that's one thing or whatever. But obviously, but anyway, my point to him was that, hey, you cross that little white line and that's a visit. So you got to be careful. You know what I mean? And I've run into that a few times actually. And actually more than a few times, one of them being in that tournament. And it was just astonishing to me that people didn't realize that, you know?
Yeah. I use that as a teaching moment. And like last night's game, they're so young and the coaches are so inexperienced that I'm not charging them a visit the first time, but I'm definitely telling them about the rule. So it's okay
Totally.
for the third base coach to do it, but the guy coming out of the dugout, that's the guy I need to nip in the bud and tell him, hey, you cross that line, that's a visit. Be wary of that. And I tell the home coach too as well.
I'd be willing to bet that the reason that the third base coach is allowed to do it is because the third base coach hasn't been in the dugout listening to the info that person in the dugout has. And so his capability of giving any kind of info to the pitcher is a lot less likely than the other person, you know? That would be my guess as to why that's that way, you know, other than the fact that they're crossing the field. But aren't you supposed to run around the field anyway?
Well, he is going the shortest distance between 2 points. The unwritten rule of baseball is, you go around, you don't cut across the field. But
coach, well, then that would contradict what you're saying. Then, see.
Well, it's an unwritten rule. It's just it's lightness of the game.
Run
around. But the third base coach is usually the head coach.
Yeah.
So I give him more of the benefit of the doubt to be able to walk past his pitcher and a couple words of encouragement.
Hey, Haley, what kind of stuff do you run into in softball that you remember that were just like kind of that irked you or that you were fond of? Umpiring wise.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's umpiring.
Or anything, really. I mean, you know me, I'll talk about anything. So
I mean, I feel like when I was actually coaching in college, I mean, I don't really run into umpires these days, but I mean, I always felt like so when I was coaching in college, I would normally be the first base coach because I was the assistant coach. So whenever I when I first went out, I would introduce myself to the field umpire who was standing right next to me or whatever. So I feel like, I don't know, it just sometimes it was they seemed nicer than others. I don't know, you know what I mean? Kind of that initial introduction. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess just along the lines, it definitely, for me, before the game, it annoys me when people walk on the field, with their spikes or anything like that. So the walking around thing, I think, is also something that is part of the game in softball. But I also think too, if the coach is walking across to say something to their pitcher or whatever, that's also a different thing. But for the most part, the walking around, I feel like walking through the middle of the field is something that kind of annoys me if it's just for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, especially because it's all dirt, right? So that means that's even more chances of chop.
That's all dirt, exactly.
So you're getting more chop and more chances of bad hops.
Yeah, that really irks me. I mean, if it's the coach, it's not as big of a deal because they're normally not wearing spikes. Obviously, they're never wearing spikes. But just the kind of like you said, Dylan, it's an unwritten rule of you don't walk across the middle of the field if you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else.
Haley, were you superstitious when you played or coached? Would you jump over the lines?
I was, yes. I never stepped.
Me too. I love that about baseball and softball. Yeah, me either.
Yeah, whenever, both. When I was playing and coaching, when we would line up for the national anthem, I would always check down the line to make sure no one was standing on the line.
See, what about knocking on wood? I mean, if someone says something, you're like, dude.
Yeah, I'm a knock on wood type of person. Yeah.
Dude, I live by it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely a little superstitious, but not so much that I would go crazy if I couldn't do something or whatever. But definitely, yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question.
That was a great question. What about you, Dylan?
Well, I've given myself the kiss of death a couple times talking about throwing a no hitter when I was throwing a no hitter. So, does that happen too in softball, Haley?
Yeah, definitely
If
same.
like if the pitcher's deep in the game, haven't given up a hit or a walk, that everybody's sitting away from her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might not be as similar, but the not like talking about it thing is a similar thing, I would say. I mean, I grew up a baseball person, so like I don't know, my things are intertwined. So I can't fully speak on like just a softball person, if that makes sense.
Cool. I know very little about softball, so that's why I'm trying to pick your brain.
Yeah, but no, I think it's in a lot. Well, to me, in a lot of ways, it's similar. I think if for some people they just, maybe aren't baseball people and are just they grew up playing softball or whatever, it might be a little bit different for them. But for me, it's very intertwined.
Yeah, it's really cool experiencing the experience for myself, at least with my daughter playing softball now and being a baseball guy my whole life. It's interesting. I will say coaching girls was 100 times easier than coaching boys. At least at the age group that I did it, they all listened and they listened so well. And even the 13-year-old, 15-year-olds that I coached for 6 years, they were like, I mean, some of them it was like pulling teeth and some of them it wasn't, it really depended. But I have to tell one story though, is as I was at bowling playing league and we have a pretty good team, but one of our guys was bowling a 300. It was his last ball. And man, my kids were out at the arcade and they had just come back and I was like, look guys, just watch. And my ex-girlfriend's kid goes, hey, that guy's got all strikes. And right as he's about to bowl and the dude bowls an 8, I just went, oh my God, dude. I felt so bad. And he was like, don't worry about it. I was like, oh my God.
Live and learn.
Mind you, the guy had, yeah, dude. I was like, dude, Andre, what do you know? And I was like, oh. But anyway, so that's a funny story. But yeah, I mean, I'll be driving down the road and I have a bad thought and I knock on my head. My daughter goes, knocking on wood. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, bad thought. And I said, yeah, it's like, so I'm a firm believer.
Mark girl.
But, yeah, dude, straight up. They're both really smart. But anyway, so sorry, that sort of gets me. What about, I kind of do want to dive into, do you guys have time? A little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I probably have to go here in probably like 10 minutes or so, but I have a little bit of time left.
I'll save it then. I'll save the injury thing for next time because I think that's a good one and a big one and important one. The most important one, I think, really. Okay. Well then, Dylan, what's your path to doing the next level? How does that work?
So I do want to go to professional umpiring school, minor league umpiring camp next January. There's two different schools. There's the Wendelstadt school, and then there's minor league baseball, which is Wendelstadt used to be one of the only schools, but now minor league baseball has started their own camps. They're both about $5,000 to $7,000. They're both about 5 weeks in Florida with a bunch of retired and current major league umpires. There's about, I think, 40, 50 students that go, and some of them have never even umpired before, which I think is wild.
Really? How do they get invited to that?
Yeah.
So it's not an invite if you sign up.
Oh.
There's also
really how much is
one $5,000.
Okay.
I've met a couple guys that did it. Major League Baseball is also putting together 1-day camps throughout the year. There's one in Vegas. There's, I think, one in Tennessee and Florida.
Dude, pick Tennessee. Vegas is going to be hot.
Yeah, right. Well, it'd be just a fun little trip. A little closer. Yeah, easier flights.
Yeah, no.
I think that's like in the middle of, I think it's on 420, I believe it is. So it's like in the middle of high school season. So that's the pro. That's the pro path. And if you're good enough, then they'll try to send you to another camp, which is the advanced camp. So they're trying to weed umpires, and
like the dedicated
test. Yeah, or just the one that have enough talent and knowledge of the game. They'll weed through the umpires and recommend. It's a lot of word of mouth. Yeah, there is a test. Any good umpire association has a good little test. College, there's a test. It's like 100 questions. I need to get 90% or better. And the same thing I've heard with these minor league camps. There'll be a test and you get a certificate. What? I don't have any certificate. Well, I guess I did for college. I got a certificate.
What's the pay difference, if you don't mind me asking, for people out there that don't know what umpires get paid? Like even just at our level, I mean, they don't give us the respect for the, the pay isn't phenomenal. So what's the pay at that level?
I'll break down all the pays. So Little League is between $35 and $60. We did a senior league game. I believe we got 65 last night. Legion will tend to be $65 to $80. And these are Little League 6 innings. Senior league and above is 7 innings. High school.
And that's per game.
That's per game.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're double headers. And then if you work it by yourself, then you get time and a half. You get 1.5 times. And then high school is between 85 and 105. Junior college is 200 to 220, depending on how far you travel.
So that's where I need to go.
And then I've heard D2 is 320 for 250. But then I was shocked that D1 is 300 with a 300 per game, and then with a 300 stipend. I think that includes hotel
per game, or stipend per game, so that you can go get a hotel and food. You're saying?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
They usually do a 3 to 4 game series.
Oh wow! So sign me up for that class you're going to, bud.
Well, and then so minor league then is, I believe, like around $3,000 a month, but I think that includes hotel.
Yeah, and I do know that the major league level is pretty fat too, isn't it? Is it like?
Well, yeah, that's where you get the big time money. It's at least minimum wage in baseball, so I'm thinking it's at least $250K.
250, okay.
And then
600 is football, huh?
I can't remember off the top of my head. And then I think like a head umpire would make maybe 750,000 or maybe even $1 million. I believe. Don't quote me on that though. But it's ridiculous when you get up into professional, which makes sense. You want, if you're gonna umpire millionaires, which practically every baseball player, for integrity of the game, you want the sports cop, which I just heard is a funny joke. I'm a sports cop umpire.
I'm cool with that.
You want those guys to be at least being paid well, so they don't throw a game, or so they don't have resentment against the players.
Well, yeah, that may be a psych evaluation, so they're not the grudge holding type, because integrity is pretty important.
Yeah. And you don't want to, because back in the day, like they had to, in the off season, they had to go get a regular job. In the 60s and 50s, like they weren't getting paid well at all.
You want to talk about a real atrocity, dude? And then I'm going to totally switch it up, and you're going to think I'm like head of the women's movement, but cheerleaders, dude. I dated my daughter's mom was trying out and had just made the cheerleading for the Gold Rush, and it was the pay for them is so ridiculous. I think it was like $12,000 a year, and it was like, what the heck? And they paid for their hoteling or whatever when they took a trip, but they didn't pay for it was ridiculous, man. So that was one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Did they get paid for appearances, or was that expected with their salary? Appearances?
No, expected.
Yeah, expected. Yeah, I play cheerleaders get paid very little.
Yeah, I just thought that was ridiculous, man, honestly. But anyway, yeah, that's so like the pay for what we're doing is, I mean, we're not doing it for the pay, obviously, but like people don't take that into consideration. It's a long drive sometimes for some people. It's a hot day. We don't really want to deal with the bull crap. We just want the kids to be able to have a good game. And then, and after taxes, I mean, it's really not, phenomenal. But
and gear.
And oh yeah, gear. Oh, don't even get me started on that, man. Everything I've gotten given to me because I can't afford it, and the gear is expensive.
Yeah, $50 a shirt.
The chest protector is like $300.
$300 chest protector, $300 helmet, $100 shoes.
So $300
iron all my clothes. $150 shin guards.
Yeah, so just with one shirt and all that equipment. And you're ending up with, what's that? 600. So 600 and or $875 for, and then you figure 870 divided by what? How many games a year? Let's say I think I have 15.
Well, I had 100.
That comes out to $58. So that's less than that's just barely the same amount I make in a game. So basically I pay for my equipment in 1 year.
Yeah, in 1 year. Yeah.
And that's one shirt.
You're lucky. Yeah. Which it's gonna be a lot of laundry. Or a stinky doubleheader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you leave there looking like you jumped out of a pool usually if you're behind the plate, Anyway, so that's another thing for people to take into consideration. Yeah, anything you guys have to add?
I think that one person in sports that gets screwed over the most is assistant college coaches.
Oh, dude!
If they get a stipend of $1,000 a year.
I just got off the phone with the now. Yeah. Anyway, I just was dealing with that, and yeah, lucky is the correct word.
No, yeah, definitely.
Would you get paid to coach college, Haley?
I got paid $30,000.
Whoa! All right, good for you.
I got paid zilch. It costs It cost me money. I didn't get paid nothing. So.
Well, I mean, it was a Division I school, but I mean, that's like
true.
As low as you're gonna get.
Yeah, I know.
But I was also living in Western Pennsylvania, so it was fine. I mean, it was fine for the cost of living.
Oh man, you were in my alma mater. I'm a Steelers fan, so lucky you.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to coach so bad, and I told one of the parents that last night. But I was like, I make too much money umpiring. I can't afford to coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that must be nice too, man. You guys both making heck of good money doing it. I'm over here like, yeah, it's for free. Yeah, it's for free too.
Well, you're doing 15 games. I'm doing 160.
You schedule my games, man.
Yeah, but Steve's doing most of the legwork on that, but I can get you more games. You want more games?
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. It's all good. No, I actually just got offered a job somewhere doing something also for kids. So waiting to hear. I have to meet with them tomorrow. So, but anyway, that's on the side note. Well, I think we covered
12 minutes. Haley, you good?
I gotta hop off here in probably a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Too. I got to go eat and get ready for American King.
Did you just say it's been 12 minutes? It's been 48 minutes, man.
No, Haley said that she's got.
No, I know. I said about 10 minutes. That was 12 minutes ago.
Oh, wow, man, he's on top of it.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, so my bad. I apologize. See, that's the umpire in him right there. See?
Yeah, I got my stopwatch going.
Yeah, there you go.
In college, I gotta have a timer.
No, he reset. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's one reset.
Oh. Well, hey, I thank you guys for calling in. And if you got to bounce and Dylan's got to bounce, then I guess we'll just sign off here. That was a good one, though.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, this was fun.
And,
thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. So Thursday, if you guys can make it, I know Haley, you can. So if you can, that'd be cool too. Thursday at 11.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
All right, thanks.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Guys, have a good day. Yep. I'm heading up to Mendocino on Thursday.
And remember to follow us on the Suey Cooley Foundation and usesportsvalidity.org. Thank you.
like and subscribe.